David Pastrnak was the overtime hero as the Boston Bruins completed a huge comeback in Calgary.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Wednesday, December 18th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Built Rewards. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. On today's episode, we are going to look at the storylines, stats, and signals from last night's huge comeback win over the Calgary Flames, and also preview tomorrow night's game against the Edmonton Oilers. Quick programming note, I likely won't be recording a podcast tomorrow as I will be in Ottawa, traveling there after I record this episode to be with my mom tomorrow for her next chemotherapy treatment. So please keep her in your thoughts and prayers, as well as me, as I drive to Ottawa with our oldest boy. Before we get into today's episode, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan. I've been covering this team for various outlets for almost 20 years now. Was a full-time hockey news writer for The Score, and then have been hosting this podcast since 2019. And the Boston Bruins found themselves in a very early hole last night. Early in the second period, at least. It was scoreless through the first, but then within a minute and 21 seconds into the second period, they were down by a score of 2-0, thanks to goals from Matt Coronado and Nazem Kadri. Elias Lindholm was making his return to Calgary for the first time since being traded last season to the Vancouver Canucks, and then subsequently signing with our Bruins here in the offseason. And he got the Bruins going a little bit with a goal in the second period to bring it within a goal. Unfortunately, late in the second, it was Ryan Lomberg who, on a really scattered, broken play, broke into the zone and made it 3-1 for Calgary heading into the third period. Not looking good for the Bruins. Don't forget, they had lost 2 games to begin this road trip by pretty lopsided scores, and they really didn't want to let this one get out of hand. Cue some secondary scoring in the third period. Morgan Geekie with his 6th of the season. Mark McLaughlin with his 2nd of the season. All in the third period to bring things level. And then it was David Pastrnak, who at the end of a very long overtime shift scored, ripping one past the Calgary netminder to give the Bruins a much needed win. It was an achievement just to get that point, to be honest, after being down 3-1 heading into the third period on the road near the tail end of a long road trip. But the Bruins got it done. And Nikita Zadorov, another former Flame, said it's big for this team. They had a really bad first period. They gave up 2 really quick goals in the second. But after that, the Bruins kind of took over the game. And that's how they want to play. Early on, Zadorov said that's not how they want to play, but it's great to see the character in the room to come back. Pastrnak ripping that goal for the game winner. He's now on pace for 30 goals on the season, maintaining a point per game pace. There's still another level I think that his game can hit, and he's still being hindered a bit by a lower than usual shooting percentage, but obviously fantastic for him to get that game winner, a big-time goal from a big-time player. The big story, Lindholm getting that goal after signing a 7-year contract with the Bruins, being traded to Calgary. He was a big part of the Flames for upwards of 6 years. Zadorov said last year he got a chance to play in Calgary after being traded. His emotions were upside down. You don't know what to expect. Lindholm, of course, has not gotten off to a red-hot start with the Bruins by any stretch of the imagination. It must have felt good for Lindholm to get that goal against his old team, to be sure. And he also added an assist in this one. So he is now up to, a modest 4 goals, 12 assists for 16 points in 33 games. He's on pace for 10 goals, 30 assists for 40 points, which is not really what you'd expect from a guy making upwards of 7-something million. He too, though, is shooting below his career average. He's at 8.3%, and his career average is 12%. So perhaps there's another level for him to hit as well, and he can maybe push for at least 15 goals this season, maybe 50 to 60 points as well, if that offense can get going. But the big story in this one was the Bruins' resilience, because, again, they had 2 lopsided losses last week to Winnipeg and to Seattle. It was trending that way here in the second period. It easily could have turned the other way, but they get that secondary scoring from Morgan Geekie, who's now up to 6 goals on the season, and then Mark McLaughlin, who is now up to 2 goals, 2 games in a row now that he has scored, and he's kind of fighting off the likes of Tyler Johnson and the recently acquired Oliver Wahlstrom for playing time. He only got 9 minutes and 36 seconds of ice time, but he got that big goal to tie things up. It wasn't pretty by any stretch of the imagination, and who knows? I think he's only 2 games away from being not waiver exempt. So if he plays a couple more games for this team, he can't be sent down without going through waivers. So maybe they sneak him down before that threshold. Maybe they keep him up and see him as key to this team's success lately. The last couple games, anyways, they haven't been super successful for the entirety of this road trip, but they're hanging in there. And again, a massive, massive comeback for this team, who desperately needed not only that single point, but that extra point to hang tight here in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. Hopefully Pasta continues to cook. Lindholm maybe getting that goal in Calgary will spur him on to even bigger things here as a member of the Boston Bruins. He certainly hasn't looked like a marquee free agent signing so far. But again, that shooting percentage for both of those guys hopefully will continue to rise. And we'll look at some more key stats and signals to take away from this game here as the podcast continues. The World Series, the Olympics, the Stanley Cup Finals, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million, no medical exam required. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You can get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 per month. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Go to selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built Rewards. And if you're a renter, you need to listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments, just like you did with groceries and travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost, and you can redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, even future rent payments. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnhl. Make sure to use our link so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's take a look at some key stats and signals from last night's game against the Calgary Flames. The Flames, it should be noted, were perfect this season when leading after two periods. They were a perfect 7-0-0 when up heading into the third period. So the Bruins broke that streak for them. The first time they had blown a lead after two periods. On the Bruins side of things, they were 3-12 when trailing after two periods. So you look at Calgary's record when leading after two, Boston's record when trailing after two, add in the fact that it was a 2-goal lead, and you can see how special that comeback was for the Bruins, or how important it was at the very least. Brad Marchand had an assist in this one. He extended his point streak to 7 games, 5 goals, 3 assists over that stretch. And again, the key moment was Mark McLaughlin scoring his second goal in as many games to tie things up. Morgan Geekie with his 6th, and David Pastrnak getting the winner in overtime. Now, when it comes to team stats in this one, the Bruins outshot Calgary 35-23 in this one. And Calgary did get, I think the Bruins did get one power play in this one, but they did not score on that. The Bruins staying out of the box with 0 penalty minutes, which of course we love to see as well, considering the amount of penalty trouble that they have been in this season. 0 penalty minutes across the board for the Boston Bruins. So the majority of this game was played 5-on-5, again, with overtime factoring in there as well. In all situations last night, the Bruins led with 53.7% of the shot attempts, 60% of the shots. They had 64.8% of the scoring chances, 70.4 of the high danger chances, 19 high danger chances for the Bruins compared to only 8 for the Flames. So really the Bruins on paper deserve to win this game, but in the first period and early in the second, that's when they really found themselves in trouble. Calgary had a 19-6 advantage in terms of shot attempts in the first. 9-4 were the shots. 4-1 were the high danger chances. And, of course, they were up 3-1 after the two periods because of that early success. But then the Bruins really turned it on from there and really took over. 26-18 advantage in the second in terms of shot attempts, 23-18 in terms of shot attempts in the third period. They outshot Calgary 24-13 over those final two periods as well. 27-14, I should say, and outshot Calgary 4-0 in the extra frame to really lay it on and take this game over. So that definitely huge for the Bruins. Again, hopefully moving forward, if you look at trends and signals, one thing to look out for is what the Bruins are going to do with Mark McLaughlin. 2 goals in 2 games. Do they keep him up? Do they sit somebody else and give Oliver Wahlstrom a shot? Do they send Mark McLaughlin down and keep Tyler Johnson up because McLaughlin has that waiver exemption for a couple more games? That'll be really interesting to see. Hopefully, this boost will give Lindholm some confidence moving forward so that he can live up to the contract that he signed with the Bruins here in the offseason. When it comes to the impact on the standings last night, the Bruins have won 2 games in a row now. They do sit third in the Atlantic in terms of total points, 1 up on Tampa. But again, Tampa has those 4 games in hand. So they have a real opportunity to overtake the Bruins there. The Bruins are 3 points up on Ottawa, who's won 4 in a row now. The Senators have 2 games in hand, so the Bruins have a slight advantage when it comes to point percentage. They're .561 compared to .548, and Ottawa has a much better goal differential. They're at +7. The Bruins are -18, and the Senators were boosted last night by a shutout performance from none other than Linus Ullmark as Ottawa shut out Seattle by a score of 3-0. Seattle had 30 shots in that one, and Linus Ullmark has just been playing unreal as of late. If you look over at the Eastern Conference standings as a whole, in terms of point percentage, the Bruins are 7th. The Penguins making a bit of a run. They, along with the Rangers, who are really slumping, they lost again last night. The Flyers, the only other teams above 500 or at 500 or above here in the Eastern Conference. The Bruins, though, still have the 3rd worst goal differential in the Eastern Conference. It was around -21 when Jim Montgomery was fired. It's now -18, so there's been a +3 advantage under Joe Sacco, but still worse than the Sabres, the Islanders, the Red Wings. Not company that you want to be in at this point in the season. And it's not going to get any easier because their next game is tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers. And we will preview that one here as the podcast continues. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. It is our choice for daily fantasy sports because it's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money and pretty quickly. Whether it's hockey, football, or any other of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. And this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas, offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at the hockey board. Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal, perhaps. It's so simple to make picks. Have fun with your friends while potentially cashing out fast. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly at Prize Picks using code LOCKEDONNHL. At Prize Picks, you can run your game. Okay, we are previewing tomorrow night's game against the Edmonton Oilers today because there likely won't be a new episode tomorrow. Traveling today, and I'll be with my mom tomorrow for her latest cancer treatment. So again, keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Thursday night, the Bruins, Oilers, 9 p.m. Eastern, finishing off this road trip. And of course, it will not be an easy one for the Bruins. The Oilers are coming off a loss to the Florida Panthers, a back and forth affair in that Stanley Cup rematch. Prior to that, though, they were rolling with 5 wins in a row. They have won 8 of their past 10 games, beating the likes of Vegas, Minnesota, Tampa, St. Louis, and Columbus, Colorado, Utah, and the Rangers before losing to the Panthers. The Bruins, though, are 7-3 over their past 10. Their wins interrupted by those ugly losses last week and that Black Friday night non-special against Pittsburgh. They have beaten Montreal, Detroit, Chicago, Philly, and Vancouver, also Calgary. Now, again, a very big lack of playoff teams in the mix there. Vancouver's in there. They did lose to Vancouver recently. After last night's loss, the Flames remain a bit of a bubble team. They're 8th in the East in terms of total points. Not really, they're up there as well when it comes to point percentage. So we can count them as a playoff team that the Bruins have beaten. But Edmonton, of course, is a whole different animal because of the likes of Leon Draisaitl, who's got 13 points over Edmonton's last 5 games, including 9 assists, 4 goals. And he's not even, he does lead the team in points, but of course you also have Connor McDavid leading the way there with 44 points. Just a two-headed beast that any team would love to have. There is quite a significant drop-off, though, after that. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman with 17 and 15 points apiece. They're currently without Evan Bouchard, I believe, their top point getter from the point. And that's partly why they scooped Alec Regula from the Bruins last week off waivers. Stuart Skinner had a bit of a rough game the other night against Florida. He's got an .892 save percentage. It was Jeremy Swayman who got the start last night in Calgary. He allowed 3 goals on 23 shots for an .870 save percentage. So actually lowering his season save percentage despite the win. Eunice Korpisalo could get it, but I would have thought they would have gone with Korpisalo against Calgary, save Swayman for a big game against the Oilers, but maybe they just straight up want to go with their better goalie this season so far, and that has been Korpisalo. So that'll be an interesting call there for Joe Sacco. The Oilers overall are 18-11-2. This will be the first of 2 meetings between these two teams. They'll play again pretty shortly, January 7th, back in Boston. The Oilers have obviously a potent offense. They rank 8th, 3.29 goals per game. Their team defense isn't bad either. They rank 12th at 2.9 goals allowed per game. The Bruins still 26th in offense, 23rd in team defense. One area where they have improved is face-offs. They're a top 10 team there, but Edmonton's very strong in the dot, ranking 3rd. Edmonton's power play is 11th. They're usually right near the top of the NHL. Their penalty kill is 26th. Boston's power play still ranks 31st. Their penalty kill is 21st. Boston, again, David Pastrnak heating up. He's got 7 points over his past 5 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. He leads the way for the Bruins in terms of total points, but only averaging a point per game still. Brad Marchand, second with 25 points, as Bessie runs by there. Pavel Zacha, third, tied with Elias Lindholm, both of whom are up to 16 points. Mason Lohrei, I should mention, tied with Charlie McAvoy for the team lead among points from defensemen with 5 fewer games than McAvoy, if you can believe it. So it should be a really entertaining game tomorrow night. Bruins, Oilers. It's always fun to see those two. Again, I've said it many times. One of the reasons I'm such a diehard Bruins fan is because my dad was a fan when I was a kid, because he loved Bobby Orr. My sister was a big Marc Messier fan. She was a big Oilers supporter. The Bruins and the Oilers played in the Stanley Cup final in 1990, and young Ian really dug into that Bruins fandom just to be more irritating to my sister as well. So it'll be interesting maybe to watch that game with my dad. I don't think my sister will be around, but who knows? Anyways, that's it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for all the support in the comments and on social media. Please do subscribe if you have not already. Check out the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast next. Steal and Flip will give you all the tips you need to get the edge in your league this week. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.